This show is clean, pretty much.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Episode 633. It's Mike Matthews, broadcasting from the last place on earth, located somewhere in Podcastro Valley, California. Today, we hear from Chely Shoehart, Floyd the Floorman, John Deere the engineer, plus the feature Into an Interview, where we speak to Dr. Leslie Beth Wish about what you need to remember when you're single around Valentine's Day, and what kids are getting all up in coffee. Mike's Daily Podcast. And I have to tell you, when I was young, I had an addiction to toffee. Mike's Daily Podcast. It was so good and crunchy. And then I got to 300 pounds, and okay, I maybe didn't weigh that much, but what's that sound? Oh, that's me telling you about the last show that we had. It was interesting, and I was such a silly lad because Madame Rutabaga dumped lasagna soup all over me. Mike's Daily Podcast. Lasagna soup, otherwise known as crock pot lasagna. Hey, this is something, manja. Mike's when you're hungry, Daily you should eat. Podcast. That's a self-help tip you didn't know, huh? Yeah! Here's something else interesting. For the next Super Bowl, I've told everybody about this. If you want to make a little extra money, this is what I'm thinking. I'm not saying you should do this, but check this out. Eli the ape. Eli the ape has successfully predicted the outcome of the Super Bowl for the past 7 years now, including this year. Now, I heard that he had predicted the winner of the Super Bowl for the past 6 years about a week before the Super Bowl, and they said, oh, and by the way, Eli picks the Seahawks. And I was like, oh, that's crazy. He'll probably be wrong this year. But he was right again. What is the deal? He's in a Utah zoo, and he can predict Super Bowls. That's crazy. All right, I thought I'd share that. And I'd also tell you you shouldn't be addicted to gambling. That's something else. And that you should eat when you're hungry. These are just things you should know because they don't have in any way any connection to common sense. And speaking of common sense, Dr. Jon Stewart, okay, he's not a doctor, but sometimes I think he is. He pulls out some of the most interesting truths on his show, The Daily Show. He's been on that now for a number of years. And he had this to say about when Republicans get all upset at Obama because they think that he's not going to be working with them anymore, and he's trying to go around them.
Listen to Rand Paul.
You can't just say, my way or the highway. That's not the tone of somebody who wants to work with Congress.
What tone? Everything would be different if he used a different tone? He needs to tone? No. Forget about that. During this year's State of the Union, congressmen from the very welcoming opposition party were tweeting things such as Commandant-in-Chief, or Chef, as he put it, and a socialistic dictator. They were tweeting dictates from a king, #lawless. Forget that Republican Congressman Steve Stockman got up in the middle of the speech and just walked out. I mean, even the guy who shouted, "You lie," sat through the thing. And forget that these Republicans have filibustered more than any Congress in the history of our republic, while accomplishing less than any Congress in the history of our republic, while attempting to block more nominees than any other Congress in the history of our republic, defunding initiatives. Forget all that. Here's all you need to know about these sensitive Republican souls. So hurt by the president's newfound lack of interest in bipartisanship. Before Obama was even inaugurated, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell gathered the entire Senate Republican caucus and said, make a public show of wanting to work with the president, but block him at every turn in order to deny him any bipartisan victories for which Obama will be blamed because he's the guy who ran on bipartisanship. Yup. And as Senator Voinovich said, quote, if Obama was for it, we had to be against it. So,
if he gives it sort of the my way or the highway, and if you don't do it, I'm going to go around Congress, then we're going to have a big problem.
No, you're not going to have a big problem because you already had a big problem. Because you, on Obama's first inaugural night, you were at a steakhouse dinner. Yes, you, Paul Ryan, Eric Cantor, Jim DeMint, and other Republican power brokers also swore allegiance to obstruction and possibly the Atkins diet. It was a steakhouse. I mean, seriously, Paul, no body fat. How does that happen? All right.
And then Jon Stewart shows a picture of Paul Ryan doing curls. He's a buff guy, that Paul Ryan. So that's an interesting thing to think about in this world. Of course, you probably have thought about it maybe a little bit. And if you're a Republican, you've been thinking, well, yeah, Obama, he doesn't want to work with us Republicans. So I just love the way Jon Stewart puts it. He puts it so succinctly there in that little 1-minute blurb. Now let's all go out to a steakhouse and get some anti-partisan stuff going on. Hey, but there's something else going on. And that is when you go to restaurants now, they call everything that is a meat, they call it protein. They don't use the word meat anymore. They say protein. Would you like some protein? What protein would you like? What are we all, Bill Nye the Science Guy all of a sudden? Yes, I will have some protein on my plate. Look who just walked in. Hello, Mike Matthews. It's Chely Shoehart, the chef supervisor. I don't like protein. You don't? No, I'm a vegetarian now. You are? What? How long has this been? Since all those snow globes ended up being alien pods in the gift shop? Yes, that was a scary episode that we had a few months back, and I'm glad that John Deere, the engineer, saved the day. He sure did, Mike Matthews. I wish I could have had some of your lasagna soup. It was okay. Look who else just walked in. Hello, Mike. This is Mitch McConnell. No, it's not. Sorry, Mike, is it Floyd the Floorman? And this is John Deere, the engineer. He likes to do that sometimes and throw you and make you think that he's a Republican when you know he's not. Yes, Floyd, I know, is not Republican. Because Floyd, well, he gets into big political arguments with the Disgruntled Fiddle Player. I like it. I like to razz him a little bit. And also, don't you also give a razz to the Valentine, the parking attendant, and Bison Bentley because they are tea partiers? Yeah, that's fun, too. Oh, we get into some big political discussions because I'm Floyd the Floorman, and I'm an instigator. You're an instigator? Instigator. Okay. Mike, I've engineered a new caffeine-powered smartphone. Oh, my gosh. How does this work? Well, you take the smartphone and you put it in a cup of coffee for about an hour, and then it's charged for the rest of the day. Can you still drink the coffee? Sure, if you want to die. Oh, okay then. Well, you want to give me a demonstration? A what? That's the demonstration. Oh, what do you want me to do? Can you give me a demonstration? Of what? Of the... I know, I was just playing with you. Okay, so yeah. Here's my smartphone that is powered by caffeine. I am dropping it in a hot cup of Joe. Gesundheit. What? Never mind. Okay, so now it's charging? Yes, Mike Matthews, it's charging. Oh no, things are getting out of control. Oh no, what's happening? Oh, your smartphone just blew up. But it punched a hole in the time-space continuum. It certainly did. Look at that. Wow, at a point in time, has it poked a hole too? It looks as if it's poked a hole into that steakhouse where the Republicans decided to block Obama at every turn. Oh, well, let's go into the steakhouse. Wow, looks kind of like the last place on Earth, only with everybody in nice outfits. They prefer to be called suits. Uh-huh. And, oh, look who just walked in, Mitch McConnell. Oh, yep, what we gotta do is we gotta make sure Obama doesn't pass anything, and, yep, let's do as little as possible, and now let's go eat some protein. Oh my gosh, they were saying protein even back then. Let's get the hell out of here. Gosh, that was only 6 years ago? That seems like an eternity. So caffeine, right? Big thing. Powers smartphones, makes time machines, pokes holes in the space-time continuum. Also, according to a newly published study in the Journal of Pediatrics, caffeine consumption among children and adolescents remained relatively steady over a 10-year period, but the sources of the caffeine did not, as energy and coffee drinks rose to become more of a contributor to caffeine use than ever before amongst kids, according to GuardianLV.com. While soda still leads the way as the caffeine vehicle of choice amongst kids and adolescents, the changing landscape of delivery devices for the substance has piqued some interest. Researchers for the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, examined reports from the years 1999 to 2010 of kids and their parents as to what food and beverages they consumed. They looked at a total of 22,000 reports for young people ages 2 to 22 and found that nearly 3/4 of them consumed some caffeine on a daily basis. The average amount consumed when considering all age groups was similar to that present in about 1 cup of coffee or 2 sodas each day. For the youngest children studied, it was about 1/4 of the amount, quarter of a cup of coffee. And the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends against caffeine consumption by young people and has strongly stated that the inclusion of energy drinks in the diets of children and adolescents isn't appropriate. A spokesperson has said that caffeine offers no nutritional value to the diets of young people, though caffeine has been dubbed safe for human consumption by the FDA. Safe levels of consumption for children has not been defined, and the FDA announced that it would begin investigating the safety and use of caffeine in foods and beverages further. Caffeine is now found in a wide variety of unexpected food sources, including in marshmallows, jelly beans, and other candies. Overuse of caffeine is associated with a variety of health problems, including increases in anxiety, blood pressure, as well as hyperactivity. I never drank coffee as a kid. You know, when I was camping as a kid, my mom would give me a little bit of coffee, but she'd put a bunch of milk and sugar in it, and it just tasted like coffee ice cream to me at that point. Like, Matthews, I love coffee ice cream. It's like so delicious. I also like Haagen-Dazs. You know, they originated in New York. They're not from Denmark or anything. What? It's just a little piece of information I got playing the video game Buzz over the weekend with my friends Terry and Steve. Buzz. It's a game. It's like a trivia game you play. Okay, whatever. Well, what do you think about caffeine? Isn't it awesome, caffeine? Does it make you a loving machine? What does it do for you? Email me, MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST@gmail.com is my email. I had to remember it for a second. And you can email me there. We read your comments on the section Emails from Email. That's MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST@gmail.com. Also email me there if you'd like to be a guest on the show or if you'd like to sponsor the show. And we've got a website for the show. It's called MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com. We named it after the show. It has links to where to find us on iTunes. And if you subscribe to us on iTunes, you get the show instantly as soon as I upload it. And you will also be able to rate and comment on the show there. There's also links to where to find us on Facebook. There's the Facebook page. And if you like the show on Facebook, when I post a new show, share that with your friends so that more people find out about us. It's a great way to support the show. Another great way to support the show is clicking on the Amazon deal of the day on MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com. If you click on that through my website and buy something, that helps support the show. There's also links to where to find us on Yelp, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Stitcher, and Twitter. Tweety Bird. There's also the blog and the daily podcast picture at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com.
Into an interview.
We're speaking with Dr. Leslie Beth Wish, which I'm going to call her LB for the rest of this interview because that's a cool name. And
thank you.
She is a ED, D, and MSS, which I love all those cable channels. I watch them for my news. And oh wait, what do those stand for?
I have a doctorate in developmental psychology, and my master's MSS is a clinical social work and management degree. That's where my state licenses are. And I also have a master's in English.
Wow, excellent. And you have this website called lovevictory.com.
Yes, thank you for mentioning it.
And how long ago did you start that, and what was the impetus for that?
Well, it all started when I began to get very worried about why today's women are so smart about work but not about love. And in the past, when something's really bothered me, I end up doing research. So for 5.5 years, I researched over 1,200 women to find out where they were messing up in their love problems. And along the way, I thought it might be a real good idea to have a website, lovevictory.com.
And you also wrote this book, Smart Relationships, How Successful Women Can Find Love. And why so successful women are having problems finding love?
They're finding that they don't know how to find the love. They have problems that they don't know they have. They make repeated mistakes. And so that book is the result of all my research findings. But it doesn't read like a research book. I don't want your listeners to get that idea. It's clearly a self-help book, and I have lots of exercises and things to do. It also has cartoons in it. So it's really very, very specific, and it comes from the words and problems of the 1,200 women who I interviewed.
Ah, okay. So will I get a lot out of it being a male?
Yes, I think so. Absolutely, because we're talking about male-female relationships. So if women are having trouble with certain things, then the other side of the coin is the man might be having trouble too.
So, all right, let's talk about dating websites.
Okay.
I'm on OkCupid.
Sure.
And I've so far gone to one meeting. And this woman was amazing, right? She really smart, very successful, works in San Francisco. And I guess there's a lot of successful women on websites like this looking for people.
Well, for starters, there are slightly more women than there are men. And in some towns, there are a lot more women than men. And secondly, a lot of these women have postponed relationships or even concerned about having children because they want to get their career in place. They want to get the education, the training, the certifications, and they want to do more than stop their life professionally at entry level. So, yes, that means that there are a lot more women out there. There are a lot more women college grads. There are a lot more women now graduating from master programs. And women are inching up their numbers in law and medicine and management. So you've got lots of women out there who are looking for love.
And, they're not finding it at the places that they're working at because it's just too competitive, or there's no eligible men?
No, there are lots of eligible men. I think the problem is one of the number one issues that came out from my research findings is that women don't know how to read men right. And they don't know how to read men because of two main reasons. They don't have good people reading skills. And secondly, they can't read themselves well. I was just really shocked to find out how much lack of self-knowledge the women in my study had. They had platitudes, or they got frightened to really delve deeper. And unfortunately, if you really want to find love, you want to be fully there as a person with all your fears knocked down to, bite size so that you can tackle them. But in order to do that, you really have to know who you are. And that takes bravery.
Interesting. So, men, I know a lot of us men are like, oh, we don't understand women. And so women are having difficulty kind of picking up on what men are doing, too.
And they have difficulty reading human behavior, and especially with their men, and they have difficulty reading themselves. If you can't read yourself and connect your reactions to your feelings and your behavior, what chance do you have of doing that with someone else?
That's a good question. So you have to start with yourself. Now, I have we're talking Valentine's Day, and you were saying the worst ways to spend Valentine's Day this year would be, what would it be?
Well, are you talking about single women? Let's start with that one first.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Or, single women. Let's start with them.
Okay, let's start with single women who don't have a steady guy for Valentine's Day. What are the things you shouldn't be doing? Number one, don't spend Valentine's Day eating, shopping, drinking, all those things that make you feel good. They'll only make you feel good for a very short time, and often it's followed by a terrible chaser of, oh my God, why did I do that? So let's forget that one. The second thing you don't want to do is get desperate and go back to your exes and figure being with someone who at least knows me and is good enough is better than being alone. That would not be smart. And the last thing they shouldn't do, and this, also applies to men. Men want to be romantic too. They want to fall in love. That shouldn't be a surprise to anyone, but sometimes it is to women. So the last thing that both single women and men shouldn't do on Valentine's Day is beat themselves up, get depressed, wallow in woe is me, what's wrong with me, because what that will do is keep you in a negative self-view. It will make you avoid looking at yourself, because if you always identify yourself as a victim, or nobody wants me, or I'm not good enough, then you never find out what it is that's preventing you from taking action on changing that. So it's sort of like a fake smokescreen position to be in to beat yourself up. So what should you do if you're single on Valentine's Day? Well, it's not too late to have a singles party. Invite your friends. Tell them, assign them a dish to bring so you don't get, 20 sets of brownies. Give them, because that's what'll happen. People will bring fun food.
LB, I love brownies.
Well, I know, but you don't want to go to someone's house expecting dinner and all there is brownies, well, maybe you would, but...
You've just described heaven to me.
No, I understand that, but you're going to have to eat a little bit of something else. Just
something nutritious. Yeah.
Right. Something so that after you eat a whole bowl of brownies, you don't wake up the next day and say, oh, my God, why did I do that? But,
my teeth are brown from all the brownies.
Well, brownies and chocolate chip cookies are amongst the best food groups in the world. But they totally are. But, everything, you have to watch out for how much you're overdoing it. So assign people something to bring, salad, string beans, or whatever. But the other thing you want to do is ask your single friend to bring someone else who is single, preferably of the opposite sex, so you get like a nice balance. Think of all the single people you know, not just friends, but colleagues, anyone who you talk to. I mean, I talk to everyone. I know people in the grocery store, the pharmacy, the dry cleaner, anybody you know who is single, and invite them. But they've got to bring someone else. It can be their brother or sister, but just someone. And you have a big un-Valentine's Day party.
Do you think this close to Valentine's Day I'll be able to do that?
Oh, you can do almost anything. Think of all the phone calls that you can make in a short amount of time. Of course you can.
Okay, I can do that.
Yeah, see? That sounded real good. The other thing, if you don't want to do that, is get together with your best friends who are alone for whatever reason, or even couples who might want to do this. It's not too late to call the local hospitals or cancer centers, any place where people might need to be cheered up. Think of children's wards. Do something charitable. Find out if your local food bank does, anything special for Valentine's Day for the homeless or for veterans. Just start making phone calls. Call your favorite charities and find out what you can do. Maybe you could donate, unused, stuffed animals or something, whatever you've got. And that would be a great way, because one of the best ways to chase away the blues is to give back to others.
Ah, great idea. Was there a third one?
Those are the three. Don't overeat or overindulge. Don't beat yourself up. And then the other is have a party or do something charitable.
Awesome. Don't wallow. Don't get consumed with guilt. Don't become desperate.
Don't go back to your exes thinking that a warm body is better than no one.
Right. Don't go back. Yes. Don't go back to the exes. There are plenty of songs that tell you don't go back to
exactly.
And yeah, so you're in Florida.
I am. We're a whole continent away from each other.
Are you at Daytona Beach?
No, I'm on the Gulf Coast. I'm in Sarasota, Florida, which is just south of Tampa.
Oh, okay, because I saw your video, and I'm like, that looks like Daytona Beach, which I've been to many times because my mom is there in Daytona.
Oh, okay. No, Sarasota, Florida. We're the quiet side of Florida.
the less rambunctious side.
Yes. We're known as the cultural coast.
Is it snowing where you are right now?
Oh, hardly. No, it's sunshiny. Probably what you have too. Where are you?
I'm in Podcastro Valley, which is right next to Oakland, in the Bay Area. But it's raining today. We're actually getting some rain, which we need because we're happy because we're having a drought, and it's one of those things where no matter how much it rains, there's a guy on TV that goes, "It's still not enough. We need more water." So
well, try to use the sunshine that you have, and when I do shows like this, one of the most important messages I like to give to people is get grateful. What are you grateful for? Because if you start with things that are good in your life and what's worked for you or what you're working on, that makes you feel better. You know, I'm going to paraphrase this badly, but the Buddhist religion has a saying that you want to die in the process of working on something, so that you're always renewing yourself. And that's a good way to get out of feeling blue about love in general. What's good about me? What am I working on? What am I grateful for? Other things you can do to make yourself feel better is connect. Make a list of people you haven't talked to in a long time, who you would like to connect with but feel a little awkward. So use Valentine's Day as your excuse for, it's Valentine's Day, I haven't, been in touch with lots of people who I care about, and I've picked you to contact. I've done that myself with New Year's Eve and other holidays, and it really does work.
Awesome. Now, if I shouldn't... All right, so if I die in the process of doing something...
Something good, something that you're working on.
Something that you're working on, like you don't want to be bungee jumping, and that's...
Well, if that's important to you, hey, there's no rule as to what's more important. I had a client once who came to see me because she was depressed. Her kids were leaving home for college, and she was feeling kind of low, and the marriage wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. And she was doing craft items and showing them at craft shows, all kinds of tea cozies and, things for the home for women. And she felt that was not important enough to do. Huh. So I asked her, who said it's not important? If it gives you pleasure, it brings pleasure to someone else. You can't compare that. Yes, there are all kinds of major problems in the world, and that's important too, but you have to find your importance. What gifts do you have? And that takes, again, the emotional bravery that so many of the women in my study didn't have. Just do it. Mm-hmm. As far as I know, you have one chance here in life. So what do you want to do with it? And I really help women, and I hope that comes through in my book, Smart Relationships. I really hope that it helps women get smart and get brave enough to be smart.
What movie should I not watch if I'm single? Well, on Valentine's Day... Well, I am single. So what on Valentine's Day, what movie should I stay away from?
I don't know what kinds of movies you like, but
Love Actually.
General, do you like romantic comedies? Those are the ones that are usually about love.
Yeah, I kind of will like them I don't know. There's a bunch of Jennifer Lopez movies I haven't watched yet, but so should I watch those on Valentine's Day?
I think you should do whatever you want. But if you want to talk about something to motivate you and get you out, why are you watching movies all by yourself? Get out there. Do something.
That's true. Now, but when I am watching television at night, I tend to watch the shows that make me laugh.
Okay, that's good.
Is that a good, modern...
Absolutely.
The
Laughter
Daily Show?
Is terrific.
That's
Laughter
good.
It's great to do.
I mean, I have a dog, and sometimes I'm laughing so loud my dog's looking at me like, are you okay?
Right. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, having a sense of humor and keeping it is medicine. It really acts like medicine on your brain. It makes you feel good. But in general, you don't want to do anything too much that takes you away from looking at yourself psychologically and fixing those issues that you keep pushing under the rug, whatever it is. I would say that the number one mistake that women make in love is after they're having a bad relationship and they break up, what they tend to do overwhelmingly is they swear off men. They go, that's it, I'm done, no more. And that's a very dumb thing to do. Yes, it's good to take some time off to examine yourself, what went wrong, what was my participation in this problem. But then you've got to get back out there, and a lot of them don't. And they fall into that magical thinking of, if it's meant to be, it will just happen.
What do you think of Valentine's Day?
What do I think of? I think of what I'm grateful for, how much I love my husband, my family, the fact that I am able to do this kind of work, and that I'm still alive. My mother died when she was young, and so that put a little bee in my bonnet that said, you better get going, girl, because life is really, really short.
Huh. Well, your website is called lovevictory.com, and how'd you come up with that name, by the way? Was that inspired by anything?
advisor bought a website for me that was for sale. So, and it sounded good, and it sounded like a fit. So it worked out great.
It works out great. And your book is called Smart Relationships, How Successful Women Can Find Love. And I think you've given us some great tips.
I hope so. It means a lot to me to do that, and I'm very, very grateful for being on your show.
Thank you, LB, as we go outside of the last place on earth where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast, somewhere in Podcastro Valley, California.
And here's today's podcast picture.
And I mentioned Daytona Beach. There is a place called the Proctor Ranch in Daytona Beach where you can rent kayaks and go along these awesome Floridian swamps. And I did that with my mom. We actually saw an alligator, a really small one. This was a couple years ago. And this place has these cats that just have sort of adopted the area. And they are friendly cats. And this one came right up to me, and I took a picture of it. You can see the old-timey porch of this house that had been there for many years. And that is there at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com. Mike Matthews, I love cat. Yeah, I'm a little allergic to them. It's kind of sad. Yeah, okay. I'm not going to cry for you or anything. Good. And I'm not going to eat any protein. Excellent. And I appreciate it if you don't say it that way, because that sounds like you're talking from a 1950s science documentary.
Today, protein is one of the building blocks of the human body.
Stop that. That was scary. Tomorrow we will bring you the return of the feature news random. Plus we will hear from Benita, the Disgruntled Fiddle Player, and the Brewmaster. Mike, Floyd the Floorman just ate a steak that he pulled from that time period that we went to from 6 years ago. Oh my gosh, Floyd, you just ate a 6-year-old steak. How do you feel?
Oh, I can feel myself being pulled back into the space-time continuum because my body has been mixed with something from a former time.
Oh my gosh, John Deere, the engineer, Floyd the Floorman just went back in time.
That's okay. He always seemed to be dressed from another time anyway.
You didn't like his fashion sense?
Not at all.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com. Email Mike now at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!
I'm back!